infrastructure. Well, join us to unpack this. We have Kikelomo Fola Oguniyan, a co-founder at Cargo Plug, joining me right here in the studio. It's great to have you.
Nice to be here, Laddie.
And it's been a while. The last time we had this conversation, I think sometime in 2024. And, I'm always curious, to ask, because I know you play in that whole export, ecosystem and import, too. And I always like to find out what direction, most of the products are going, in Nigeria, and what Nigerian exporters are sending out, at this time. What are you seeing?
Okay, yeah. So largely, the high traffic areas are the UK, the US, and Canada for our business. So we have this whole jackpot syndrome where people are actually moving to these areas. People are sending out food items, hair extensions, clothing items are in really high demand, skincare products. In fact, your what they call Brazilian hair and co, people still order those from here. For some reason, they're sending them out in millions from here.
And production doesn't start here.
It doesn't start here, but I guess it's cheaper here. So they source it from here, and they don't mind paying the delivery fee to their doorsteps wherever they are around the world.
Right. So what are we seeing that's produced here?
Produced here, yeah, skincare. So like your shea butter-based products. Produced here, clothes. Our fashion industry is on a high. We have all these fairs, international fairs in the UK, for example, or in the US, and people are taking African attire from Nigeria, made in Nigeria, to these countries overseas. I think people still have this desire. In fact, non-Nigerians have the desire for Nigerian products. So hair extensions, some of them are made here, or sourced from China, and then fashion items.
So that means, there's hope,
And then food, agriculture.
Food.
Yes.
So there's hope, for that whole, buy Nigeria sentiment, for domestic and also, for people out there.
Yes.
They want to also buy Nigeria. So let's give them stuff.
Yes, exactly.
They can buy.
Quality stuff.
Exactly, quality stuff.
Yeah.
So, talk to me about, the trends, we're seeing in the logistics, business now, because now it seems AI is coming up in everything, and I'm sure that's not left out.
Yeah, of course. So, well, in logistics, we'll have things like real-time tracking, knowing exactly where your package is. When we started our business, this was in 2013, we would hardly know where the goods were. You would just know that, okay, it's coming at some point, somebody will just call you and say your package is here. But now we have real-time tracking. That's from the advent of technology, AI, route optimization. So now when a driver is going out, they're able to tell what's the best way to get to our destination, rather than just go out there and try and figure it out on their own. So that's how AI is obviously coming into buying behavior. So systems are able to predict what you're going to need in a few months, especially for supply chain. You can tell what is running out, what you're going to need, and when you should actually restock your supplies.
And talking about supplies, what about warehousing? Because you need to keep these products somewhere before you actually take them to the consumer. How's that looking?
Well, warehousing is something that we also offer our clients. So whatever you need for as much time or as little time as you need, even for personal effects, not just for businesses. For businesses, of course, but for personal effects, sometimes people relocate from Nigeria and they need to keep their stuff in warehousing because they don't need them over there and they have to move out from their current premises. So warehousing for businesses, for individuals, and it starts from even small scale down to, hectares and hectares of space that are needed for business.
And we can't shy away from e-commerce.
Yes,
at this point, that's projected to grow by about $10 billion. That's in Nigeria, by 2027. So, talk to me about what's driving demand, there, and how the logistics industry is able to maintain the synergy, between e-commerce and most of those customers out there.
I think logistics has played a significant role because people know now that they can, in fact, logistics and payments. There's more, smartphone usage in Nigeria. So people have their phones. You now have everything at the palm of your hands. So someone knows that they can order something, pay reliably, and they won't be, their money will be safe, would actually be transferred to the seller. And then they know that they would have logistics facilitate delivery to their doorsteps. So that has caused a significant boom in e-commerce. Now everybody is selling something. I'm sure everyone has something or someone in their family that sells something on social media. And the world obviously is becoming a smaller place, and logistics is playing a huge role because literally without logistics, the world stops, nothing moves. I wouldn't have been able to get here without logistics. You wouldn't have been able to be on the show without logistics.
Yeah.
So logistics is playing a really pivotal role in e-commerce.
Yeah, so are we seeing any, trends, evolving, in that area when it comes to, e-commerce and logistics? Because I know last time we spoke, we talked about how some of the dispatch riders, they have issues, on the roads, getting the product to, the customer. How's that looking now?
I think one of the coolest things we've seen is people being able to get real-time updates on where their package is, in terms of at least even within an hour. So it tells you expect your package within 1 and 2 p.m. and the driver will actually show up at 1 and 2 p.m. That comes from technology, but the thing is, obviously, we're lacking in some kind of infrastructure, because where the roads are bad, it would cause delays. And people don't believe it, but dispatch riders get stuck in traffic. People don't actually believe it.
Even if it's a bike,
because when the roads are too choked or cars are too close to each other, they find it hard to navigate, and that obviously affects the ability to deliver. But yeah, the trends are amazing. People are able to see, even when there's a delay, you can see that, oh, your rider will be delayed by, we have this overseas, but here, it's still, well, easing into it, but it's definitely coming.
What about stories about dispatch riders saying, they've arrested my bike, or I can't?
That still happens, that happens, and it's just about, it's just going back to business owners being compliant. You have a bike on the road, make sure you have all your required papers, make sure your rider is knowledgeable about the required papers, and he needs to know he has them, because sometimes they take advantage of those who are not street smart. So the paper is right there, the authority of the authorization they have is right there, but then they just bamboozle them, and once they take your bike, forget about it. With the goods inside, just forget about it. So
with
the goods, yes.
Wow.
So that affects not just the delivery company, but obviously the seller who has made a promise to their clients to expect delivery.
And I know the proximity of Lagos and Ogun State. We've had that issue with the papers. Ogun State paper, Lagos State paper. Have you seen any improvement there?
The thing is, just decide where your coverage area stops. So as a logistics company, set your boundaries. Are you authorized to enter Ogun State? If yes, feel free and have your paperwork. If you're not, then just don't do it. Don't accept deliveries to areas like maybe Ojodu-Bega, places that are on the boundary or on the border. So sometimes you might need to even do something as little as going to take a U-turn somewhere that would mean you're going through Ogun State. So just be mindful. And you also need smart drivers who actually know the geography of Lagos and who know where Lagos is and where Ogun State, where those borderline issues can occur. Not just the driver, but even the coordinator, the person coordinating the deliveries from the office needs to know, okay, this address is in Muwe, that's the Ogun State. Let's find a different way of delivering, or you just tell the seller that you're not able to cover those areas. All
right, so we've also seen the emergence of drone technology in some parts, advanced countries. Are we having such conversations here? Maybe I'll see a drone passing by at some point.
For
delivering.
Us, not yet, because we can understand the kinds of challenges that would bring. But I know that we have that in Nigeria. We have that. In fact, I know there's a health company that uses drones to deliver blood. So I guess if it's working in that space, it's definitely something that can be adopted in logistics.
Right, and we also have the issue with elevated prices for fuel. Some are still trying to get comfortable, at these price levels. How's that impacting, deliveries, for dispatch? And we're also seeing the CNG, talk of CNG, electric vehicles. How's it balancing out?
It's quite expensive, because we've seen, in fact, you see the skits on social media of somebody saying, the price to Abuja is too expensive. Maybe you charge the person 5K, for example. The price to Abuja is too expensive. Please deliver to my friend in Apapa. They're like, to deliver to Apapa is more expensive than to take it to Abuja. So there's something going on, and dispatch riders or delivery companies, some delivery companies, are really taking advantage of it, and to their benefits, because at the end of the day, it is coming at a high cost. So as for the CNG conversation, we haven't engaged. We don't use CNG for now. But then I'm sure that as long as you factor in your costs and put a little margin, you can still remain competitive. And that's the better way to go, actually, for sustainability.
Right, and electric vehicles.
Electric vehicles, of course,
All right, so, what are you seeing on the horizon, when it comes to, Nigeria's trade routes? Definitely you did mention UK before now. What are you seeing for the future? At this point, there's so much talk about tariffs, at this point. Everyone's trying to protect or try and get a deal, at this time between obviously US and China. How's that playing out in the business?
Sorry, could you repeat the last part of the question?
Like, how's that playing out with the business of, logistics, sending some of your goods outside Nigeria? Are you having jitters about, tariffs and all that?
Well, for me, I'm just personally excited about the after because that's something I'm looking forward to. I recently met a founder who set up a business that allows, in fact, she's running like a supermarket, but it's for, you can buy your sugar from, just an example, sugar from Kenya or rice from wherever else, Zambia or so. And then, you're shopping within Africa, and empowering Africa, growing our economy, en masse, and shopping as if you're shopping within Lagos. It's just convenient, it boosts the economy, more jobs. So we're waiting to see how that comes into play in practice. It's one thing to say it's been ratified, but then to see how it actually shows up in practice and see how businesses can benefit from this. And,
Right.
different economies.
Yeah, well, we're still
benefiting from
tracking, after,
Yeah.
at this
Yeah.
point to see who's actually taking advantage of that block
Yeah.
right now. But I guess it's still early days.
Yeah, it's still
But
early
even
days,
though
but we're
it's
super
been a
excited.
while.
Yeah, it's been a while, yeah.
But, definitely we'll keep tracking that.
keen
Thank
into
you so
that.
much, Kikelomo Fola Oguni, as the co-founder at the Congo Club.
Thank you so
Thank you
much.
for coming
Thank you,
here today.
Ladi. Thanks.